Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to talk about Queendomino, and this is published by Blue Orange Games.
And if I knew how to program the lights behind me, I would have them alternating between blue and orange.
Why?
Blue Orange Games.
Oh, that makes like a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm like ashamed. I'm ashamed as a gamer for not like connecting that.
I'll get there eventually. I'll figure out how to work all that technology. But for today, we're talking about Queendomino. This is a sequel to Kingdomino, which we talked about in a previous episode. It's a similar thing. You have, tiles, which are dominoes. They're half one thing on one side, half another terrain on another side. You're laying them out there trying to get a lot of victory points. But this adds a couple new elements. So let me show you how it plays on the table. All right, here is our setup for Queendomino. If you've ever played Kingdomino, there's a lot of similarities here, but there's also a lot of new stuff that I want to point out as well. All right, so we've got our little player area here. It starts with one little castle in the middle. If you're playing a 4-player game, you're going to be making a 5x5 grid, kind of surrounding that. You don't necessarily have to surround it, have this be in the middle, but that's usually kind of what ends up happening. All right, so then in a 2-player game, you're going to be making a 7x7 grid, so you have a little bit more kind of spatial things you have to mess with, but you have a much bigger city and more scoring opportunities as well. We're going to take turns drafting tiles, so we're going to have 4 tiles out there at a time. We're going to lay them out there in numeric order, which kind of represents how good they are. So the less smaller the number, usually the less good it is. So we might have something like that out there, and then we're going to draft them. To start off with, you're going to draft them randomly. So you're going to take all the player pieces, you're going to kind of shake them up and drop one at a time. First person out gets to choose where they go, and et cetera, until all of them are played. And then what's going to happen is we're going to have another set of 4 out there. Same thing, we're going to have them set up in numeric order. Whoever took the top tile, which again is kind of like the least good one, that's going to be whoever gets to draft for the next one first. So maybe they go there, this person then next goes there, whatever the case is. Then all these tiles get distributed to whoever drafted them, and they're going to put them in their city however they want. You do like that, you connect it however you want. This is like dominoes, though. You have to place like tiles next to like tiles. The only exception is that middle spot is kind of like a wild, like castle spot. You could do something like this, as long as at least part of it, though, is matching. As far as scoring goes at the end of the game, what's going to happen is you're going to multiply these crowns here times how many squares do you have of that particular landscape. So in this case, we have 1 crown times 3 waters. That would be worth 3 points. And obviously, you're going to be making these big grids. There's going to be a lot of points out there. In a 3- and 4-player game, you're making a 5x5 grid. In a 2-player game, you're making a 7x7 grid. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of landscape out there, a lot of crowns, and a lot of points. All right, so all that is very similar to playing Kingdomino. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add in this new kind of landscape here called the towns. So when you add one of those in, those are like kind of unbuilt spots, basically. Those are going to be towns, and all these buildings here on this board here are going to be buildings that you can add into that town. It's going to give you some special abilities and some points. You're going to start with 7 of these coins. That's going to be what you're going to use to buy these buildings over here. And basically, you can build them right over top when you pay that money. Each one of these has different abilities that you can do. Some, like this, just have a crown, have the shield over there with the points on it. That's just straight victory points. Other things are going to give you some of these towers and these knights. Towers are great. The more towers you have, basically the person with the most towers, they're going to be in charge of the queen. Now, the queen basically does a couple things for you. First of all, she gives you discounts when you're buying these buildings. But also, whoever's holding her at the end of the game is going to be able to use her kind of like one of these crowns. You could put her there, and now you've got 2 crowns in a 3-shaped spot. So basically you've got 6 points down instead of just the 3. But again, you'd probably use her to a little bit more advantageous spot than that. Some other abilities that you might find on those buildings, like this one says, you can hardly see it probably, but basically what it's saying there is it's worth 2 victory points for each one of those kind of swamp areas. And also in the top left of that tile, you can see it gives you 1 knight and 1 tower. So that'd be a great one. Now, also, on any of those red tiles, none of them have any of those crowns. But when you buy some of these buildings, some of those buildings do come with crowns, and that's the way you can get victory points out of those town sections like that. Now, there's also a mechanism called taxing. So, you got these little knights here. You're going to place those as you place a tile. Let's say you place that at the same time. You get to get 1 coin extra per size of that land region that you just played. So, again, if we just place that water tile and we would place this on that water spot, we would get 3 coins back from the bank. There are going to be some tiles over here, some buildings that say things like, in addition to taxing for every land, you're also going to get 1 coin per every night in your area. That can be really strong. There's even things that say things like this, 1 point at the end of the game for every night you have in your kingdom. So there's lots of different ways to earn victory points from these new building tiles. So the game's going to keep on flowing like that. Whoever has the topmost tile here, all these will get pushed over as a new set of tiles would come over, whereas the topmost one would then get first choice out of what's out there. And then it just kind of keeps on flowing until this stack of tiles runs out. When all that's run out, everyone should have either a 5x5 grid in front of them or a 7x7 grid with 2 players. At that point, you're going to count up all your points. Again, you're going to take the crowns times the size of the area. Then you're going to look at all of your little, your shields on your tiles. You're going to look at any bonuses you might have from those various tiles, the building tiles. You also might get some points for leftover coins. You add up all those points, and whoever has the most points in the game wins.
I liked the lightning. Shh. There was like these random tiles that just had lightning coming out of them for some reason. I don't know why. And it was always
the wizard guy.
But was it always coming out of the mud or?
It was coming out of the swamp. The wizard guy.
The swamp. All the swamps just.
Yeah, on the original Kingdomino as well as Queendomino and in Dragomino, all the ones that we had in this series of games, I always go through and look at each individual tile to look for funny little inside jokes and stuff. This one didn't have as many as Kingdomino did. Yeah, fun little cute artwork.
Yeah, it did have fun though. What were some of them? Like the Robin Hood? Yeah,
there's the Disney Robin Hood. There's kind of an homage to that.
Yeah.
And there was some silly stuff, and there's a lot of commerce. So I think that's kind of fits in with the theme of the game. In this, as compared to Kingdomino, there's a lot of commerce going on. You can tax people, you're buying these buildings and all that kind of stuff. So in the artwork in Queendomino, it had a lot to do with buying or selling wheat or stone or wood or whatever. So a lot of the artwork had to do with that as well, which again matched the theme, which I thought was pretty cool.
It was fun to have that extra action, or basically that extra tile that you could place on your stuff and try to plan that out ahead of time. But it also made it kind of hard to do other things because you had to do that in order to win the game. If you just played normal, there's no way you're going to win. You definitely have to buy all of those extra things in the tableau.
There is a ton of variants in this game. You can combine this with Kingdomino. There's rules about how to play it with 2 players differently versus 3 and 4 players. There's expansions that you can add on, Age of Giants and some other ones that can just really make this line of games just super, super strong. And you can make it into a really, really big ordeal. But I guess that kind of segues to my next point, which is I really, really like the simplicity of Kingdomino.
Yeah.
We've got big, bloated games, and sometimes they're hard to get to the table. And some of those big giant games are some of our favorites. But it feels like with this, what they did is they took a game that was really streamlined, extremely smooth and streamlined, and made it into this other thing, which felt like that game with more, but with maybe too much more. It just didn't flow as well for me. There's definitely more hiccups.
I thought that this game suffered from Runaway Leader, and that's just it just made it not nearly as enjoyable as I wanted it to be. However, that doesn't happen with a higher player count. So since the majority of my playtime for fun is just with Ryan, it's just us, I would probably always choose Kingdomino over this for just him and I to play.
Yeah, there is a lot of fun to be had here, but at the same time, for simplicity's sake, Kingdomino takes the cake. That was a lot of fun. This still fun, especially if you were playing Kingdomino and wanted something more. This would be great. This
definitely
has you covered.
Yeah.
But if you liked Kingdomino for its simplicity, stick with that.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. And you can follow us in all the places. On Facebook, we're Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany. And on Twitter, we are Ryan and Bethany 1.
All right, you guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.